Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'm going to be sitting back in my very squeaky chair, relaxing and having a little conversation with all of you guys about collectibles, markets, and misconceptions. Because I do believe it's important from time to time to talk about the general understanding people should have when engaging with the world of collectibles, especially trading card games. I mean, I do buy and sell trading cards a lot, and I like to pretend sometimes that I know what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of people, I think, who believe, and it's a growing number of people, I believe, that the markets for trading card games, or individual chunks of the trading card game market even, are in one of two states: the bull market and the bear market. And that's kind of their only understanding of the potential states of the market. And I'm here today to talk about other options, other possibilities, specifically the crab market and the risks that come with that. So, first off, as a refresher, the bull market is a state where items within that market are trending upwards. They are gaining in price or velocity for the price, whatever terminology you want to use. There's a lot of FOMO in bull markets. There's a lot of excitement and hype in bull markets. There's more headlines in bull markets where people are talking about individual cards making record-breaking sales. For instance, a bull market is very much what I'd like to call a seller's market, where a lot of leverage, a lot of power is in the hand of the people who actually have the items in question. Because after all, when a hype is present and things are trending upwards, you're in no rush to sell at a loss or a discount or anything. You know, you can price an item at what you think is very competitive, sometimes above market, because there's a very real chance that sooner or later someone's going to come along willing to pay that price tag, just because how desired that item may or may not be. The inverse is true, by the way, with bear markets. A bear market is very much a buyer's market because items trend downwards in price. Either they lose actual value or they lose velocity in their gain of value. I worded that poorly. But there's less interest in buying these items from buyers, so buyers have a lot more power, more leverage when it comes to it. And stores, in turn, are really trying to get some of these items off their books, clear up some space, clear up some cash for more potentially interesting and potentially in-demand items. And when it comes to the world of collectibles, especially TCG finance, people really do tend to believe that the TCG market can only ping-pong between these two states. And like I said earlier, that's not really true. While it is true that recently, in recent years, we have experienced very strong extremes between bull market and bear market for various TCGs, do not get me wrong. The fact of the matter is, many aspects of the card game market, many aspects that are out now, experience a third state, which is the aforementioned crab market. And this is very much like a crab. Rather than going up or down, crabs like to go sideways. Sometimes for a very, very long time. You see, in a bull market, investors can be very confident that items they buy off the shelf at MSRP now are going to be worth more when they go to sell it, because more people want them, right? In a bear market, investors can have a lot of confidence that what they're purchasing right now is effectively on discount, a sale even. The fundamentals behind an item can be very good even in a bear market. It's just for a variety of reasons. People don't want it, people can't afford it, so it's trending downwards in price. So investors, that evil I word that people like to associate with scalpers and scammers and such, Investors look at bear markets as opportunities for the long haul and bull markets as opportunities in the short term. At least that's how I like to frame it. But when it comes to crab markets, haha, I am le crab. When it comes to sideways markets, there's an awful lot of uncertainty and an awful lot of apprehension to invest in products, games, etc., that are going sideways, especially those that go sideways for a long time with no upward or downward momentum in sight. Now, I need to clarify that this is not universal. The collectors and the players of anything experiencing sideways momentum can be very well off for the state of that market. I'm just going to point to Flesh and Blood right now, with the exception of the earliest sets, WTR, Arcane Rising, Crucible of War, all that stuff. A lot of Flesh and Blood sets, some of which are phenomenal sets with really powerful cards in them, some really cool heroes, and for limited, really cool limited experiences. But for a variety of reasons, Tales of Aria, for instance, has no legal heroes. How that ended up happening. For a variety of reasons, these boxes, or even cases of these boxes, have sat stagnant on the market, occasionally selling, but largely sitting at the same price points they've been at for well over a year. And this isn't a sign that Flesh and Blood as a game is dying. It is a sign that Flesh and Blood as a game is much more focused on the new sets coming out that you have to buy into quickly and make your money on those quickly, because for one reason or another, people have not really decided to invest in, speculate in, or buy up a lot of the older sets. Again, like Aria, Everfest. Everfest is a really solid set. Uprising, etc. It's just a fact of life. And it's not just for Flesh and Blood. When we talk about older card games, dead card games, there's a lot of those on the market. Trust me. Things can go very stagnant for a long time. You'll see after the death of a card game, a lot of times what happens is there's a huge selling off point as stores and investors and speculators rush to get those items off the book. And then what happens is the dead market, the sideways crab market. A price for a box of, what's a good example? It's been dead forever. Hyborian Gates, 30 years old. What a game. What a game. Hyborian Gates, from what I understand, had a respectable price point for its boxes when it first came out. And then they collapsed pretty much right away. And they have stayed at absolute bottoms for almost 30 years. There is a very real chance that right now, if you go onto eBay, you can buy a box of Hyborian Gates for under $10, $15, $20 maximum. Why? Because there's no desire for it. It is a dead investment. It is a dead card game that has very few people who are interested in collecting it. And so there's not a lot of incentive for that price to move upwards at all. And this, I believe, is important to talk about, because sometimes there are reasons to believe that a sideways market that's been sideways for a very long time could go up. Flesh and Blood, I think, is a game that has a lot of potential for the long term. Continues to put out some very solid sets, all things considered. Even their worst sets. Looking at you, Omens. Even their worst sets tend to have some really banger cards that are very desirable, very collectible. Introduce some cool new heroes, introduce some cool new mechanics. And as the game grows, and it is growing, as the game grows, more and more new players are going to look towards these older boxes to get the cards that they desperately need in order to have a full Ocilio deck, for instance. So while Flesh and Blood and a lot of their sets has been very stagnant for quite some time, I do believe that there is reason to suspect in the future that could change, and there could be potentially explosive growth. But Battle Cards is a game that has nothing going for it. It has no new fans. It has no major players or collectibles. There's no website, to my knowledge, dedicated to keeping Battle Cards alive, like there is for so many other dead card games like Star Trek, Harry Potter, etc. That game has been sideways for 30 years. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, unless some absolute psychopath manages to buy up every single box in the market. And at that point, that's not really price growth, it's price manipulation. You know, if he buys all the boxes and then starts listing them for $30 a box rather than $10, it would technically be growth, but he'd have a hard time selling it, I think. There's a lot of people who look at markets and have a hard time understanding what kind of state the market is about to go into. And I say this as somebody who has a very hard time understanding and predicting what state the market's about to go into. Because, as I'll say again, in my opinion, nobody can predict the future. And for that reason, I think when we are in transitory times, you have to be very careful about the predictions you make and the reasons for which you buy things. And it can't just be, oh, it's cheap. You can't buy something just because, oh, I have a few dollars, I'll spend it here and see what happens. You can't do that. I've seen a lot of people over the internet on the last 2 weeks make some comments to the tune of, it's cheap and it's going to work out. And you guys know probably what game I'm talking about. Okay? It's cheap, it can only go up. And for all intents and purposes, they're probably right. You know, when this game pulls itself out of its slump, and it does appear to be in a bit of a slump, but not a huge one, if things turn around again in the near future, these boxes people are buying for $170, $180, could very easily become $500 boxes, $700 boxes, whatever. But it could take forever for that to happen. It might not. It probably won't. In fact, I give it 2 years. But people have to have more reasoning than just, it's cheap and it's popular. There are many popular things that are cheap. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very popular game. What's that? Yu-Gi-Oh! Is awful? It's not. Whoever said that, it's not. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very fun game. I just don't like the modern stuff. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very popular, especially over in Japan, and has loads of fans, some of which have been with the game for over a decade. In my case, over 2 decades. Think about that. And yet, despite that popularity, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Boxes, after their initial cratering, stay sideways for a very long time. Okay, a very long time. Some have not seen any movement in well over a year. And so you can't just say, oh, something's popular and it's cheap and I'm going to grab it because of those 2 reasons alone. No, you have to have other reasons. You have to have other... you have to have something a bit more, you know, deciding whether or not you go into an investment, a purchase. You have to have more frame of mind, more context, more understanding. And you can't just go willy-nilly into decisions that you might not see a payoff for a very long time. Okay? I've talked about this before on the channel. You have to be careful with your long-term planning because sometimes the long-term is long-term. There's a reason that people joke about the diamond hands when it comes to the world of TCGs. Diamond hands, in my opinion, are the easiest to execute when you have completely forgotten about your investment. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. The best diamond hand strategies out there are to forget you ever even bothered purchasing an item in the first place. And 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, you're going through a closet, going through some totes and going, oh, I have some old boxes here. I wonder what those are worth. Okay. The reason a lot of diamond hands are being memed on is because a lot of people who preach the diamond hand strategy are very short-term planners who are very skittish to market changes. And It's not necessarily a bad thing. Skittishness and opportunism are things that I do value. Overly cautious, I should say. Uh, an overly cautious handling of your investments is good, but not to the point of you recklessly spending into a market that could otherwise be taken a bit more carefully. You know, and by that I mean there are people who are too eager to get out of their investments when there's a downturn, and on the flip side, too eager to get into investments when there's a downturn. Okay, because there's a lot of people who will cry diamond hands, and the moment their item has a 10% loss, you know, the box they bought at 300 is 270. Up, gotta sell it, gotta get it off the books. Sell, sell 3 cases of it at a loss. Get that cash flow going. You know, they're a bit too eager to eat up a loss there for one reason or another. You know, it could just be that they've maxed out their credit cards and they need to make a payment now. I hope that they don't. I hope that that's not what happened, but it could be. Meanwhile, there's a lot of people who are overly eager to buy into things just because they're down a bit. And they justify it with, well, it's going to go up again sooner or later. We're going to flip this bear market into a bull market. And again, it could. It could. Or the bear market could turn into a crab market for a very long time. And you would not see any growth or gains or anything for potentially longer than you're willing to hold on to the item. And I say that as someone who has seen a lot of people, especially on the smartest corners of the internet, share their portfolios or their collection trackers. What a meme. Their investments, and they'll talk about how they desperately need to see some growth in the near future because they bought a lot of this stuff at the lows and they're still sitting at the lows, and it's not great. They need to make a return soon because they have thousands of dollars tied up and they want to start seeing some money, but nothing's been gaining because they bought some interesting items. Interesting items. They've bought into the FOMO and it's not going up any faster, or they bought into a receding item and it's not going up at all. That's a problem. You know, when you are not being careful, is all I'm trying to say. Not being careful, not analyzing properly, and not taking into consideration the potential for a very long delay for payoffs. And I've said this before as well. This is the final thing I'll reference. When I like to purchase things, I like to approach them with the mindset of, if it works out, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well, at least I bought something that I liked. Today, for instance, like 3 hours ago, I purchased a bunch of the Cynthia's Garchomp EX acrylic stand boxes because of a few reasons. One, they are cheaper, bit of a discount today, insofar as I can see. It's a cool product. Pokemon Premium Collections or Specialty, what's it called? A box set? Premium Collection, I think it's the Garchomp. They tend to have pretty nice growth on the secondary market after they're out of print. The acrylic standees are a relatively new thing. I think that has chance. Cynthia is a popular character. Garchomp's a popular Pokemon. And it's got Destined Rivals packs in it, I think. If it doesn't, though, if there's no Destined Rivals packs, and it doesn't go up, I'm still happy to have it because A, I like cracking open Pokemon products from time to time, and B, I got it at a pretty good price point, so I'd be happy cracking it at a loss. So, you know, things to consider. Too many people don't go into it with the mindset of, oh, I could lose everything. I could have a zero return on this instead of a loss return, you know? Because that is a possibility. You know, I know we joke about going to zero, but the fact of the matter is, you could eventually get a point where you're not seeing any growth, so you decide to crack it anyway just to have fun with it. And I know that you're having fun with it. I do that all the time. But that means it does go to zero for you. You are not getting any return on that item, just so we're clear. So, as I wrap up this ramble rant, what I'm trying to say is there's far too many people who think that things can only be bullish or bearish, when in reality, the markets are way more diverse than that. And some items and some parts of the market can see no growth and no shrinkage for years. And you just have to be aware of that because far too many people are a bit short-sighted when it comes to how they choose to invest things. And I bet that's all I got. TCG Player links are below. eBay links are below. Discord and Patreon are also below. Yeah, there we go. Got all 4 of them out in one go. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you agree with me, disagree with me, or think I'm crazy for talking about crabs for 20 minutes. Anyway, that's all I got for you kiddos. Talk to you later. Ciao.